Welcome back to the Expensive Coins History channel. Today, we delve deep into the story of a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but carries with it a complex history, fascinating variations, and a surprising level of value in today's numismatic market. We are talking about the 1965 Canadian 5-cent coin, a piece of Canadian currency that not only represents a pivotal time in the country's coinage history, but also holds significant interest among collectors in 2025. The year 1965 was a transitional moment for Canadian coinage. Queen Elizabeth II, having already appeared on coins since her ascension in the early 1950s, was now depicted with a more mature effigy. This updated portrait would be seen across several denominations, and the nickel was no exception. The 5-cent coin struck in 1965 bears no mint mark, a characteristic that often leads people to ask whether this implies rarity or special status. The answer is rooted in minting policy rather than mistake. During that period, the Royal Canadian Mint did not include mint marks on standard circulation coins. So while the coin lacks a mint mark, this feature alone does not make it inherently rare or valuable. However, the true interest begins when we look beyond the mint mark, or rather, the lack of one, and examine the design variations and the nuances of production that occurred during that year. The 1965 Canadian nickel features a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, with her name and royal title inscribed around the edge. On the reverse, as with most Canadian nickels since the 1930s, the image of a beaver appears, sitting on a log with water lines below, but the key feature to examine lies not in the central design, but in the small, intricate beads that form a circular border around the Queen's portrait. These beads, or denticles, were used to align the design and ensure balance. In 1965, two primary varieties of this coin were produced, distinguished by the size and number of these beads, the small beads and the large beads varieties. The small beads variety is by far the more common of the two. This version features tighter, more numerous beads circling the Queen's portrait. These coins were produced in much larger quantities and are frequently found in circulation, even today. Although some in extremely high grades may command a premium, most of these coins remain within a modest value range unless they are in mint state or proof-like condition. The large beads variety, however, is where rarity begins to enter the conversation. These coins have slightly larger, more widely spaced beads. At first glance, the difference may seem subtle, but to collectors and specialists, this distinction is highly significant. Fewer of these coins were minted, and they are considerably more difficult to find, especially in well-preserved condition. To complicate matters further, and to the joy of variety hunters, there are even sub-varieties within the 1965 5-cent coinage. Among these, the so-called attached jewel and detached jewel variations refer to the tiny detail on the Queen's crown near the central band. On some coins, this jewel appears to be slightly separated from the tiara, on others, it is fused. These micro-variations add a layer of challenge and intrigue to the task of coin identification and grading. Collectors often rely on magnification and reference tools to determine whether their coin is a standard small beads issue, a rarer large beads example, or one of the subtle jewel variants. The stakes are worth it. As of 2025, some of these rare combinations, especially a large beads with attached jewel in uncirculated condition, can reach prices in the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on certification and condition, or grade, remains the single most influential factor when it comes to the coin's market value. The grading system, typically ranging from G4 good to MS 70 mint state perfect, is used universally among collectors and dealers. A 1965 small beads nickel in average circulated condition may only be worth face value or slightly more. However, that same coin in mint state, especially MS 63 or higher, can attract collectors willing to pay a premium. The situation changes dramatically with the large beads variety. In lower circulated grades, these coins might be modestly valued. But in higher mint states, especially when slabbed and authenticated by a reputable grading service, these coins can command values from several hundred to several thousand Canadian dollars. As of 2025, the market for mid-century Canadian coinage is seeing renewed interest. Younger collectors are increasingly entering the hobby, while seasoned investors are recognizing the stability and historical value of Canadian pre-modern currency. Within this environment, coins like the 1965 nickel, especially its rarer varieties, are experiencing a steady upward trend in both demand and price. The market has changed significantly over the last decade. What may have sold for $20 or $30 in the early 2010s might now be commanding 3 to 5 times that amount, provided the coin is in pristine, certified condition. Auction houses have reported record-breaking prices for mint-state examples of the large beads variety, particularly those with additional distinguishing features. Even online marketplaces have seen an uptick. Coins that were once dismissed as common pocket change are now being sold in protective holders, with sellers emphasizing grade, luster, and die variations. Buyers, on the other hand, are becoming more educated, more discerning, and more willing to pay for quality. So, is the 1965 Canadian 5-cent coin worth a lot of money? The answer is both simple and nuanced. For most small beads coins in circulated condition, the answer is no. They remain a part of everyday numismatic history, interesting but not particularly valuable. However, for those who hold a large beads variety in uncirculated condition, especially with a rare subvariety, the coin could indeed be worth a significant amount of money. In 2025, this coin stands as a perfect example of how attention to detail, careful preservation, and knowledge of die varieties can transform an overlooked coin into a valuable treasure. Thank you for joining us on this in-depth exploration of the 1965 Canadian nickel. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a curious beginner, we hope this journey has inspired you to take a closer look at the coins in your collection. The world of Canadian coinage, specifically focusing on 2 fascinating examples that continue to stir interest, raise eyebrows, and even command notable prices among collectors across North America and beyond. In this video, we'll be exploring not just the coin itself, but the deeper layers beneath the metal, the story, the subtle variations, the numismatic journey, and of course, the current market value in the year 2025. Our spotlight is on the 1975 no-mint mark Queen Elizabeth II Canada 5 cents coin, and the 1965 Queen Elizabeth II Canadian 5 cents coin, both deceptively simple at first glance, yet full of hidden complexities and rich history. So, without further delay, let's begin this journey into the small but mighty world of Canadian nickels. Let us begin with the 1975 5 cents coin from Canada, a coin that, to the casual observer, might appear ordinary. Minted during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, this coin features the second official portrait of Her Majesty on the obverse side. This effigy, designed by Arnold Maquin, shows the Queen wearing a tiara, facing right, a design that would grace numerous Canadian coins during this era. On the reverse, we see the enduring image of the beaver sitting atop a rock, designed by G. Kruger Gray, an image long associated with Canadian 5-cent pieces. The design is simple, yet powerful. It speaks to Canada's connection with nature, wildlife, and the fur trade, historically vital to the nation's early economic development. This coin contains no mint mark, as was typical of Canadian coinage produced by the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa during that period. And though its total mintage exceeded 100 million pieces, many collectors continue to preserve it, especially in higher grades, due to its classic design and nostalgic presence. However, when it comes to rarity, the 1975 no-mint mark 5 cents coin is not exceptionally rare. It was a workhorse coin, circulating widely across all provinces and territories. That being said, examples in pristine condition, especially uncirculated or in mint state, are considerably more difficult to find. Coins that have never seen circulation, often stored directly from mint rolls or found in sealed sets, maintain full luster, sharp detail, and exhibit no signs of wear or contact marks. By 2025, these uncirculated examples are still accessible, though more limited in number. A well-preserved 1975 5-cent coin in MS65 or higher might fetch a modest value in today's market, anywhere from a few dollars up to $10 or slightly more, depending on the demand, coin show location, and collector interest at the time. For coins in typical circulated condition, the value usually hovers just above face value, perhaps between 10 and 30 cents, but the true value for many collectors lies not in the price tag, but in the completeness of a date set, the aesthetic appeal, and the sheer joy of the hunt. Now, let us turn the spotlight back a decade to a far more intricate and mysterious piece: the 1965 5-cent coin from Canada. On the surface, this coin might resemble others from the 1960s, but within this single date lies an entire field of study for coin enthusiasts. For the year 1965 is home to not one, but multiple varieties, each with distinct features, making this coin far more than a mere pocket change curiosity. Just as with the 1975 version, this coin bears the image of Queen Elizabeth II, the same portrait by Arnold Machin. The reverse continues to showcase the iconic beaver, which has become nearly synonymous with Canadian 5-cent coinage. But what sets the 1965 coin apart is the subtle yet significant differences found in the number and spacing of the beads, or denticles, that circle the rim of the obverse side. There are two primary varieties widely recognized among numismatists: the small beads and the large beads varieties. The small beads variety is the more common of the two, featuring tighter spacing and smaller dots around the queen's effigy. The large beads variety, on the other hand, is considerably scarcer and has larger, more widely spaced beads encircling the rim. This may seem like a small difference, but it is a detail that can make a major impact on value, particularly when collectors are seeking specific types for registry sets or variety collections. To further complicate and fascinate collectors, there is also a diagnostic trick involving the alignment of the letter in the word Regina. On the large beads variety, the tip of the A typically points directly to a bead, whereas on the small beads version, the alignment is usually between two beads. These subtle markers help differentiate what might otherwise be overlooked. In 2025, the small beads variety remains readily available, especially in circulated grades, and generally sells for nominal values, usually ranging between 50 cents and $2, depending on condition. However, high-grade uncirculated examples, particularly those with brilliant surfaces and no spotting or toning, may fetch between $10 and $20 at retail coin shops or online listings. The large beads variety, by contrast, has gained notable traction in the numismatic market. Even moderately circulated examples of the large beads 1965 5-cent coin can command premiums, ranging from $20 to $50. In extremely fine or about uncirculated condition, the coin may reach into the low hundreds. And for those elusive examples in mint state with full luster, sharp strike, and minimal marks, auction results in recent years have shown prices exceeding $1,000, and in some rare cases, even higher. The rarest of all is the 1965 large beads, high-grade coins with a cameo or deep cameo finish. These command the highest premiums and often become centerpieces of advanced Canadian collections. 1975 Canada 5 cents, no mint mark, circulated, 10 to 30 cents mint state, MS60, MS65 1-2. $5 exceptional gem condition, up to $10 or slightly more, depending on demand. 1965 Canada 5 cents, small beads, circulated, 50 cents to $2 uncirculated, $10 to $21,965 Canada 5 cents, large beads, circulated, $20 to $50 extremely fine or AU, $50 to $150 mint state, MS60 plus $200 to $600 or more mint state cameo or deep cameo, $1,000 to $2,500 or higher in exceptional conditions though small in size. Coins like the 1975 and 1965 Canadian 5-cent pieces carry tremendous depth and intrigue. They connect us not only to moments in numismatic history but also to the culture, design, artistry, and the legacy of a monarch whose image has appeared on coins across generations and continents. For collectors, these coins offer more than monetary value. They offer the satisfaction of discovery, the excitement of variety hunting, and the pride of owning a piece of history. Thank you for joining us on this detailed exploration of the 1975 and 1965 Canadian 5-cent coins. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and sharing your thoughts or personal finds in the comments below. Until next time, happy collecting, and may your next coin be a rare one.